Hi, I'm Renée Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. So this is a special episode that I am sharing with you. It actually was recorded during my podcast launch party. And it was something that happened that I decided to create sort of last minute. And it ended up just being a beautiful evening where I had so many of my students that have been a part of my classes for years, also some great friends and colleagues that are in the coaching world were there to support me. And it just felt like really good. I had the beautiful Kristina Bartold from the Social Snippet who produce this podcast as a guest. So we talk about the power of community in it. And it was just such a great conversation. We had a lot of laughs. So this is where, when I say that this podcast is about going deep, but keeping it light. And to me, that evening was just the perfect embodiment of that, where we spoke about the power and the essence of community, but at the same time, we kept it light and had lots of fun and lots of laughter. You'll hear me give a big shout out to Kim Torrance Services because she really did such an incredible job of putting together this launch party for me and paying so much attention to detail. And yeah, it's personal. So it's like I'm peeling or opening the curtain so that you really get to be with us and have that experience. And I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, thank you so much to everyone for downloading, subscribing, rating, reviewing, and being part of Renee's launch team. Thank you, guys.
You're officially
amazing.
They're officially on the launch team now.
Officially,
yeah. They've
signed a waiver at the door.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And on your LinkedIn preferably.
Yeah. On your LinkedIn profile.
Awesome.
Okay.
Let's get her
Good.
started.
Okay. Wonderful. I guess that's me. It's so interesting because I feel remarkably calm right now. And I don't know, I was telling someone, I'm either very grounded or I'm really tired. And I don't know which one it is. I'm not going to lie. It can be either one. But I feel like just taking a moment, I have to say, maybe that's what I need, is to just take a moment because it's been a day, but it's been a while coming. And I know that, who's listened to episode 1? Now you're going to know. I'm going to know who listened to episode 1. And I shared that in that episode, so I'm not going to repeat it necessarily, but the podcast was meant to happen 4 years ago. And at the time I was doing some interviews. I see Bonnie, Vanessa, there's a bunch of you that I interviewed when I was doing these wellness chats with Renee, and it was going really well. And I thought, well, that'll be an easy thing. So let's make that into a podcast. And last minute, I pulled the plug on it. Just felt like there was a lot of things. But I can see that for me right now, those 4 years needed to happen. And I do feel like I'm sitting here such a different person and a different teacher. And the message is also feeling different. And just before, Kristina and I were kind of having a chat, and she's like, maybe this is what we should be talking about. Because I think yes, I've been feeling kind of that, I don't know. I keep using the word leveling up. I don't know if that's what it is, but the difference with the podcast for me right now, what I'm experiencing is that I've been teaching this message for a while now, and those of you who are in my classes, you know it. It's not like I'm changing that message, but I've always felt like I was doing it in like this closed, safe community, and everyone there I knew. Now this feels a little bit more like everyone can hear this message, and I don't feel like toning it down anymore. Like I feel like before I was toning it down. I don't know how Glenn feels about that, but that's another thing, right? So
Glenn, you're up.
he'll be one of my guests on an episode. I don't know. Yeah, so I think I knew that in putting out this podcast, it needed to really reflect how I felt and just say it how it is and be open or willing that, or I suppose, accept the fact that it may or may not resonate with everyone, and that's okay because that's not what it's meant to be. That, yes, there may be judgment, but hey, isn't judgment a good thing? It means that people are actually reacting to it. So there's been kind of that, I feel like that's where the shift has been, is just being willing to share the message in a way where I am not feeling like I need to edit anything. You know, I was maybe hiding a bit behind the wellness part of it, and now the name says so much and it means a lot to me. Now, I'm going to go into it, but I have to take a moment because I put down in my notes in big the word Kim. And before I go any further, I want to make sure, my beautiful Kim, that I acknowledge you because Kim has done such an amazing job at helping me put together this event. And the only reason why there's a podcast launch is because she's in my life, honestly. I've not done any event for, I think we met 6 years ago. I'm pretty sure I've not done one event on my own since then. So when we talked about this podcast launch, she's the first person I called. Are you free? Yes. Okay. I knew that I could go ahead and do that, and I wanted to make sure that I say that. So for any of you here, if you are doing a business event, a personal event, she is just amazing. Thank you. When I first started coaching, so my very first coach is right there, Lisa Garber, amazing. And you need to meet Lisa I still call you Lisa, but it's Lisa. You need to meet Lisa if you haven't. She's full of wisdom. But we would joke in our coaching group, so there were 4 of us, women and over-functioning women, if we can all relate to that. And I remember she would listen to us, and she's like, every woman needs a wife. Like, that's what and so that was our joke, like how everyone needs a wife. And I'm like, now I would add everyone needs a Kim. That's my thing. So thank you. Okay, so I want to come back to I was talking about the idea of the podcast and the name being a reflection, and that's going to bring me to someone else, which is Natalie, my daughter, in the back of the room. And she surprised me today. Came from Queens and knocked on the door just when I was like, I need somebody to do my eye makeup. Because I don't know how to do eye makeup. And I actually called her and she didn't answer. And then 5 minutes later, I hear a big knock. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's how the universe works, people. You just say, I need somebody to do my eye makeup. And someone knocks on your door. And it's my daughter.
Is there a money back guarantee on that?
But Natalie and I were working together this summer, and she's been becoming very passionate about digital marketing and all those things, which is so handy. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, please do that, please. So she was helping me this summer, and we were having this conversation about the name of the podcast, because that was the thing. Because I knew I was bringing it back with new energy, I'm like, I don't know what it can be. And we were bouncing all these names, and she just like said the word spiritually wired. And it was in that moment, I just felt like it was a full body sensation where I just felt myself like, oh, this is it. And I think she just kept saying other names. And then she had to go to her skating coaching job. So, she moved on, but I just felt this one really in my body. And what it brought to me, and I know some of you were in the membership class last night, it reminded me there's one of the first kind of really out there spiritual books that I read, probably like 18 years ago. And I remember it was like called Indigo Adults. And they created this visual in the book where it was like imagining everyone being connected at the crown. So now I know it's the crown chakra, but they weren't even describing it that way, and I'm not sure that I even knew what that was. But creating this idea of like everyone being connected at the crown, and that we are wired where we are connected to source, to universe, consciousness, God. And the idea is that we have like this wire, this connection is on this, like the way I see it or interpret it is on like a dimmer switch. And when we're born, I do believe like we're born and we're fully connected and open. And then we grow up and life happens and we're taught certain things and beliefs. We have experiences. We're taught to, our programming changes and shifts as we get older. And so that light may feel a little bit dimmer. And then hopefully at some point we have this moment of recognition, of awakening, of realizing, okay, there is more. And when you start to intentionally be more in a place of wanting to connect, then it's the idea of like bringing that dimmer switch goes up, and you can imagine that light, that connection becoming stronger. And I remember reading that, and then the idea was that, when everyone begins to awaken, then it's like the consciousness of the planet starts to rise, and it just becomes like it shifts the entire consciousness. And it had always stayed with me, and it's kind of like a book that I didn't really think about for a long time. But I think when Natalie said that word, spiritually wired, it was just like, that's it. Like we're so, to me, that's like the essence of what I teach, what I believe, and what feels like truth to me. So that was really exciting because now I had a name. And so thank you, Natalie, because that was a big deal.
Hey, Natalie.
And so if we're all kind of spiritually, if we're all wired in that way and everyone is connected to this source, then we're all connected to each other. And that is like the basis of the connection piece, is that we are, connected. Yes, there's like 3 levels of connection. There's being connected to yourself, there's being connected to this higher power, and then through that, connecting with each other. And the community piece is so incredibly important. And I feel like tonight, the intention is really for me to just celebrate with, I was thinking, I'm like, the only reason why I feel like I can do this is because I know I'm going to try to not get emotional, but I feel like I have you guys to land on, like, this is my safe place, and I can go there, and who knows what's out there, but I know that I have you. And I want you to know how much that means to me, and how every single person here has touched me in some way, has inspired me in some way. I have Bella here, and an example, Bella is the founder of Mom to Mom Biz. If you don't know Mom to Mom Biz, you want to definitely check them out. But when did you start Mom to Mom Biz? 2017. Pretty sure I joined right around then. And at the time, we've heard of a few different things that I've done, but I was teaching yoga. That was my thing. I was teaching yoga in studios, teaching yoga in the basement of my house. Some of you, Mauricia was like, I think, my first yogi down in the basement. And yeah, so many of you I know from there. So I was doing yoga, and then I remember Bella asking me, she's like, and we had a conversation, so we knew we were kind of on the same wavelength, spiritually speaking. She's like, would you come and guide a meditation for a group of business women? And I'd like for you to focus on the solar plexus and really kind of working on power and, confidence and all that. So I'm like, okay, great. That sounds like fun. And it's like that mix of excitement and fear. And so I remember I had never done that, but I worked with the chakras in yoga, but I'd never done that. So I call my like Reiki master teacher. I'm like, okay, we're guiding a meditation. We're focusing on the solar plexus here. Like, can you help me? And then I did a quick certification to kind of like get it all underway. And I had it all scripted, like every word was scripted. We were going on a journey and we were healing that solar plexus. So we did the meditation and it was like, well, that was great. Like it felt really aligned. And I am still doing meditation circles today. And I say that because that is to me how the universe connects us all. It's like you had that moment, you asked me, and that opened up a whole other kind of way for me, a whole other place for me to go. And so I recognize that and I honor that and I thank you. And I think that every one of us here has done that in some way, shape or form. And most of the time we don't know the impact that we have through, different, it can be a text or a word. Brenda has had to really listen to a lot of my talks lately. And thank you. I love you and adore you. But that is the power of being connected. And these rooms here and these communities, they make all the difference. And that kind of leads me to our chat, which is on, I really wanted us to have that conversation around the power of community. And, you mentioned, so Kristina is my podcast producer, just in case you didn't get that. No, but Kristina is like you embody the essence of bringing women together in a way that is so unique and refreshing and beautiful. You and Maria do that through your events. And when I met you, one of the things that I noticed was how it didn't matter who was your client, who wasn't your client, who's doing this. It was just like, let's rally the people, let's support the people together. And so I guess let's start with like what has community done for you? And has that always been a part of has that been like the strategy, or is it something that has evolved? Like, where did it start for you, this whole community piece? Because you are the host of Community, the podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
Forgot to mention that.
I know. My big bio would have been in there,
Yeah,
but I really
there.
shortened it. Yeah. So firstly, thank you so much for your kind words, because I feel so blessed to be here, and I feel like a local Burlington Oakville resident. I'm like always, I live in KW, and I'm always like over here because there's so many incredible women and there's so many amazing things happening and moving here. So it's amazing to be a part of it. And I think for me, community has always been innately part of everything I've ever done. So it's always come really naturally to me. Just thinking, we worked actually with Alex Street on our story, and I was kind of like, oh, it's so random that like I'm a social media manager because like I have this like master's degree in conflict resolution, and I used to do this and I used to do that, and like everything that I kind of came across was all about community. I was a college RA and I loved being an RA, and I thought that was gonna be my whole life, like being a res manager, and I loved that. And then, then you don't love that. And then you like move on to your next thing and then you don't love that anymore. And then it kind of grows and evolves. And I think being an entrepreneur, like us getting started, the only way I knew how to do it was in community. Like the only way I knew how to like build relationships with other people was by just trying to pour into people and like learn from them, and really like have nothing to ask for back, but really just try to see what kind of value we could give. And it's been amazing to see how that's been kind of the foundation. But people always ask, and I've said this before, but someone one time was talking about me on a podcast. I don't think they actually know I've ever listened to this, but they were like, what's so great? I have this friend, and she goes and she networks, and she makes like all this money networking because she goes in there and she tries to like hunt for clients. And I was like, oh God, because that's just not what I believe, how I come across, but also like not the mission. Like
Yeah.
I know things happen when they're meant to. I live in that. Like I know that if you pour into someone in your community, you're actually pouring into their community. Right? Like when you meet someone and you're generous with them, you're giving people like the stock to be generous with others. And so even if that person doesn't become a client, they might know 5 other people who might become a client one day. And just living in that abundant energy of like, not everyone needs to give you everything all the time, I think is kind of the power and the magic of this. But I think for what you're doing, Renee, when you're building this amazing podcast community, like this is the opportunity I think for people to pour back into you, right? Where you've given so much wisdom and you've been so generous with your spirit, that it's like, I know you were so nervous to like do this and like to put your like message out there, and you called it like your coming out party, like your spiritual coming out party, which I think is hilarious. You said it, not me.
I named it. Coming out of it.
But it's like, it's so cool to see like how that resonates with people, and how like you've been hiding, even you have this amazing community, but you've been hiding this like piece of yourself from the world, and like now it's your time to be an expander and expand others in that way.
Yeah, that's true. You said the word abundance, and I love that you say that, because I feel like sometimes that's one of the things that holds people back is and for anyone who's maybe under the age of 30, we
Sorry, anyone? Natalie.
No, sorry. I meant anybody who's over the age of 30. That's what I meant to say. No, but there's been like, we kind of grew up in this a little bit of that in competitive environment as women. I don't know like if anyone else has felt that, where like we kind of grew up in that old maybe mentality of like, well, if you get that, then that's less for me.
Yeah.
And so that's been a shift that I just love seeing, how people are more open to seeing it so differently. It's like, no, if you get that, then that means there's even more for all of us. So that's where I feel like even you were hosting a collab party today, and with another friend that of ours, and you're both kind of technically competitors.
We are competitors. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that, because so let's talk a bit maybe like that collaboration piece, because I think when you can open yourself up to recognizing that it's like, we might as well just do this all together and like rise together. There's so much more.
Yeah. So something that I heard once, and it's like really stuck with me, is this idea of like borrowing belief from others. That like when you see someone doing something, instead of just being like, oh my gosh, the reason that they're, the reason why Renee is, top 10 in podcasts is because she's just so cute. Like she's so cute and good looking. And, I don't dress as chic as Renee, so I'll never be in the top 10, right? Like that doesn't indicate you in the top 10, by the way. It has nothing to do with your clothing. But we submitted some outfits into Apple, but yeah, it's fine. But one of the things that like I like to think about is that actually I'm just borrowing belief that like because that person was able to do it and they are pretty much just as average as I am, everything's possible for me too. And it's like, I think that that's a different way of thinking. And even Carly and I, we did this collab party today. It was an event for female entrepreneurs, actually not female entrepreneurs, just entrepreneurs. There were some men there too. Alex was there. But we did this event, and we talked about this because, it would be so easy for her and I to be like, we both love running events. We're both social media agencies, but what we actually focus on is how we can complement each other. Like she doesn't do podcast management. So, she makes great referrals for me. We don't do websites. I make great referrals for her. We found ways to collaborate, and I taught her team a LinkedIn session a few weeks ago. Like there's so many different things that we're able to do together, but I think it's about borrowing that belief and just really seeing like, okay, if that's possible for that person, it's possible for me too. And I think also when it comes to a lot of these things in business, and how many people are like business owners in here? Do we have some like business owners? Yeah. Okay. When it comes to business, it's so like, that's something Maria and I have been so passionate about in creating High Vibe Women is it like, it started as just like a few dinners. Marsha was there, the first one. Yeah. We had these little dinners, and we just like brought people together because we were like, there's so many amazing like incredible women locally. And instead of focusing on, okay, I'm going to lurk that girl on Instagram and I'm going to see all of her success and I'm going to just like her stories from afar, it's actually like bringing people in and being like, hey, Renee, you have a podcast launch. I've got a good social media audience. I'd be happy to post about it. Or we've seen people do like amazing collaborations. And we've had, like, I'm just going to use a very quick example. But so when Maria and I started our agency, I had never known anyone who was an entrepreneur. Like, I didn't have parents who were entrepreneurs. I come from an immigrant family. My parents were like, you find a job, you die in that job. That's the job you hold until your death. That's what I thought my career was going to be. And then I'm like, 29, and I'm like, well, I have my job that I thought I was going to have when I'm 65 now. So, like, what else do I've got going on? And that's when Maria and I decided to start our own business. And while we were doing that, we needed a mentor. And so we were looking, we had done a bunch of stuff. And a friend of ours was like, there's another girl who owns an agency. Why don't you reach out to her and see if you want to go out? And Maria was like, yeah, I'm going to DM her. And I was like, don't do it. There's no reason why this woman's going to want to have lunch with us. There's no reason, like, she's like this. We're just going to look like weak little peasants. Like, let's not do it. And Maria was like, no, like, Kristina, like, we have to, like, do it. So we reach out to this woman. We take her out for lunch. We talk for like 4 hours. At the end, she's like, I have some resources for you. I'd love to send it. I wonder if we could do this again sometime. We kind of formed this friendship, whatever. Flash forward a year later, she closes her agency down and gives us every single one of her clients.
Wow.
We couldn't have prayed for that, right? Like, and it was like, she was like, and didn't want anything for them. I sent her cookies. Like, I was like, you must take these cookies. Like, it was like, yeah, I was like, people sell businesses, right? And she was like, no, but these cookies are very cute. Thank you so much. So, but that was such an amazing example of like, yeah. We could have went into that being like, she has nothing to, we have nothing to gain from her. She's never going to hire us to do anything. Like, why would we network in that way? And she could have been like, you guys are little chicken nuggets on the street over here. Like, just starting your business, like, what do I have to do with you guys? And it was an amazing collaboration, and her clients felt very served, and there was lots of goodness that came from that. But it wouldn't have come if we were both scared of each other. Yeah. And I think if you see women or anybody who like inspire you, or even like, I love to tell people, not that they intimidate me, but if someone is in a situation where I'm like, oh my gosh, I really admire this about you, and like, you're so tenacious and you're so confident. And that's not something I always see in myself, but I love that in you. I've never gotten a bad response. Mm-hmm. And in fact, it just lowers the barrier of like, hey, I'm a come with me kind of person. Come with me on this journey. So that's my long-winded answer. There you go. Spilled all my secrets there.
I love it. Yeah, it's the kind of the energy that you put into it is what you're going to get back. Yeah. And so I think the key thing is to give without, necessarily the intention or wanting to receive back from it. When you're just really giving from a pure intention, then it's amazing, all of those miracles that happen from it.
100%. And you'd be surprised too, like, and this might sound like common sense, but I'm just going to say it. You'd be surprised how many people want good for you. Like, it's so easy to be competitive and so easy to be like, no one's going to download my podcast. Who's going to come to my launch event? Yeah. Who's like, even when we run our High Vibe Women events, every time we put something out, I'm like, oh, someone comes to that. Like that, or like we have a 120 person event that sold out really quickly. And I remember when we put the tickets on sale, I was like, might just be me, you, and a stage. Like, that might be what happens, right? But I know people want good for us, and I live in that energy of wanting good for other people. And even if someone doesn't rem me the right way, or we don't do business together, or a collaboration goes awry, I live in the energy of wanting good for them. And so when that comes up, I know that people want good for me. So if we always assume that people want good for us, the ask is easier. If we know that we want to we know that these people want to pour into us, we know that people want to move us forward, we know that people want to see us on our jet, and they want to be on the jet with us. That's okay if the jet's not the dream for you. That's fine. I used to say yacht, but I don't even like boats that much, so it just felt misaligned. But it's like, people want to do that with you. And so I think for you, Renee, even like seeing this amazing room, like, these people were like, you threw this party together in, you and Kim, of course. 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. And how many people here like drove from afar to be here? And Kingston, like, right? I guess it's your mom, but yeah, fair enough. You come because people want good for you. Yeah. And so I think it's like living in that energy as much as we can, because then when bad things happen or things that are challenges happen, we know that other people want good for us, and they're going to help us out of it.
You live in the energy. What is it that you said?
Oh, no, I don't know. I blocked out.
It was really good, because that's the sound bite.
Good thing it's being recorded.
Thank
It's
God.
being recorded. But just the idea, it's like that karma piece, right? Of just being in that good energy of wanting good for people. Yeah, that's it. It's like being in the energy of wanting good for people. It sounds really good, and I feel like you should utilize it more. I think Alex, it should be part of her story. Yeah. You should put that part of the story. Yeah. Okay. I feel like we could keep going, and there is so much. I know, in terms of just really, I think it's surrounding yourself is what you're saying. Like with just the people that have that. I use the term frequency. I was laughing that she was my first guest. So this is my first podcast official interview, by the way.
Wow.
And I'm doing it live in front of people. That was like, but I remember when I was going to, I completely lost track of what I was going to say because frequency. Oh yeah. I thought it was so funny that I was asking you that you were going to be the first guest because one of the first times I met her, she completely claimed that you were like, what, not woo?
I'm woo adjacent.
Woo adjacent. That's it.
Yeah. I am a magnet to woo-woo people. Like, it's like all you people with your open chakras and the beads and the talking to the dead, you love me. If you are one of these people, I am your people. But I just don't do any of those things in any way. And so, yeah, today I was actually, you laugh at this.
I laugh.
Today I was in a conversation that was quite woo-woo. Like it was pushing the edge. And I was like, oh, my head's starting to hurt. Like So,
was it with Gerda?
Yeah, it was with Gerda. I didn't want to say it.
Yes, Gerda.
But can I say one thing? Okay, I'm not traditionally woo-woo, so you probably won't see me with the chakras. But what I will say is that I'm a huge believer in like karma, and like I was once told by a psychic I'm a psychic, so I'm holding out, guys. I told her she had a lot of job security and didn't have much to worry about, but we'll see kind of what happens. But I think that there's a lot of beauty in like being in your intuitive like self and really leaning into that in your business and your relationships, like really trusting those gut feelings, whatever you call those gut feelings, but like whatever you want to call them. But
Call it intuition.
But I think there is something beautiful there. But you can see I was not a predicted guest.
No, she would not be the typical guest. You stand on your own as a guest for this. But no, the thing is, what I find, so funny and fascinating is that you are so much more spiritual than you think you are. She's going to be coming out of the closet, like just maybe in 10 years. We're going to give you a few years to get there.
Feather earrings to come, everyone.
Yeah. No, I want to thank you, Kristina. Thank you for being here, for coming all the way, and just like your support, you guys, in terms of helping me bring this. It did feel like someone said it's like giving birth, and that's what it's felt like giving birth. So you're like my doula.
Off my website, but
but I appreciated having you here so much, and I appreciate all of you. I just, my heart is full. I'm feeling surprisingly calm. I don't know how I'm going to feel tomorrow, but I'm really feeling calm right now. And I've not even had a glass of wine either. I'm just fully just calm. But it feels good. And I want to thank you. And this is just the beginning, really. It feels like it. So I'm honored that you took the time to be here. And I hope it's not over. We can have some drinks. There's some more food. And some robot dancing. Oh, wait.
That wasn't on my bingo card.
That's how it ends. Tell me you were born in the 70s without telling me you were born in the 70s. We need some tunes, Ross. Wait till the tunes come on.
And I just want to, if we can just for 1 second also just like recognize Renee too, obviously for putting this together and bringing together such incredible people, but also that there just like needs to be more women sharing these messages. And think about all of the people that you're going to get to impact who, you know, might be spiritually in the closet with me. And they listen to this, and it's an opportunity for them to get more connected with themselves, more connected with their purpose, and more connected with the community at large. And who knows what that ripple effect could be. And so sometimes when we do these podcasts, we're like, oh, like, I don't know, for myself, I'm always like, who listens to this? Like, here I am just talking to the mic. But you know, all these people who are listening to your podcast, like they're going to be living in their purpose in a greater way. And that's one of the biggest impacts you can make. So congratulations on your launch.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly life lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes or come check it out at reneewalkerwellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.